Good morning, fellow Plexers. Today we're going to help Will out of the Plex Pals Facebook support group, and I may have done a video for Will in the past. So here's his post. How do I get a TV series named correctly if it's already named incorrectly? I ripped my DVD collection of the early 2000s Twilight Zone with Forrest Whitaker. When I ran these through FileBot, it named them the 2019 series that was on Paramount Plus. I've tried to unmatch it. I've tried different databases and I still can't get the correct info. So let's talk about a Plex library first, a Plex series library. Let me pull up my web app, go to my regular TV show library. I'll hit these three dots, go to Manage Library, Edit, and go to Advanced. Before we go too much further, a default library is created with episode ordering being pulled from the movie database. I always suggest a global change to the TMDB and name from TMDB and pretend the movie database doesn't exist. But with this particular series, it really doesn't matter. So bottom line, Plex uses both these two databases and it pulls metadata from each daily. It scrapes the databases and combines this metadata along with metadata from other sources that may be undisclosed, and it combines it all together in a secret sauce way into their Plex movie, an agent scanner, and their Plex TV series and agent scanner. Well, actually, for a movies library, it uses the movie database in IMDB, but a TV show library uses the movie database in TMDB. So I like this change. I talk about it a lot. I'm not going to go into the details here, but that's the first thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this prep for a test server on my older Synology NAS. And we can go into Manage Libraries, and we'll be doing this test in the TV show library. Now, this is all made up of real media that's all in the public domain. Today I'm going to use dummy files to simulate this show. So FileBot named it like this. So this is interesting because it's the exact same name at both databases. The year isn't normally included in the series name at this database. My personal FileBot expressions that name shows from the TMDB automatically add the year in. So if Will was using my expression, that would have happened. Now, this really isn't a FileBot issue. It's not catching things by FileBot. All right, so we have a bunch of dummy files here. These are just short 5-second videos of me saying something. Good evening, fellow Plexers. They're not real videos. So I'm going to take all 10 of them and copy them. So I'm on my test Synology NAS. Here's this shared media folder. And I use a sort folder for multiple TV show libraries. And at this level, I am just going to paste them in. I copy them. And I'm going to grab just this. And let me right click and I will edit all of them by renaming them and choosing find and replace. Now I'm a Linux user and this option's in every file manager under every version of Linux, every distro, and it's under Windows 2. So I'm going to paste this in. And then I'm going to do a space dash space S01 EO. Now I'll type in the existing text box. And you see what's happening as I type? This is getting filled in over here with a highlight. So I'm getting rid of new dummy file, leaving the number. And if I drop down, it's going to screw up this one file, which I'll just fix manually. I don't need E010, I just need E1. But this is just a quick way to rename these. So let me fix the last one. Now, Will, you can also do this, and I'll show you how to do it manually after we run this through FileBot. So really, FileBot should have a show folder. So I'm just going to create a folder, and we'll name it simply the Twilight Zone, and then we'll stick these 10 dummy episode files into that folder. Now, nothing's happening on my test Plex server because this is not within a library file. Or a library folder. We'll eventually put it in here. And if I just put it in here, Plex will try to scan it. Well, let's do that. So there's no season folder. These are named simply. Let's see how Plex scans this. All right, so this server, this library is set up to scan automatically, which it's doing. So this found the series as the wrong show, the original Twilight Zone. If I went into fix match, I can pick either show I want with a little help. So I think this is 2002, the Forrest Whitaker one. So if I type that in and search, there it is. If I type it again with a newer series, which I think is 2009, or 2019, I typed 2009, and still Plex gave me the choice of the right one. Now, this is a crutch. You should never use fix match. You should rename your files. If something catastrophic happened to your Plex server, but not your media, and you had to create a new Plex server and scan all your media in fresh, and say you had, I don't know, 200 TV shows, and half of them you had to use fix match. Well, that means there's 100 shows you have to go perform maintenance on and figure out what it is, where if it's named properly, it'll scan into 10 new Plex servers perfectly the first time. All right, so what I'm going to do, we'll do the Plex dance right now. Let's cut this and move it out. So this will scan automatically. So if you don't have your library set up, you would manually scan by going here, manage, the 3 dots and just scan library. So the next step in the Plex dance is to manage library, empty trash. Then you go to your settings, down to troubleshooting, and you clean your bundles. And then you go fix your file names, add it back in, and rescan, which is what we're basically going to do. So we'll get the series out of Plex completely and do the Plex dance. Rescan it once it's out, empty the trash, troubleshooting, and clean bundles. So now that we're here, we can use FileBot or we can manually rename. So this is an easy series to manually rename. I'll rename all of the highlighted files, and I will simply type zone in the top line, hit my tab, go below, and I'll type zone again, and now I'll add the correct year. And we've renamed this structure very simply. You change the show name to Twilight Zone 2002, the folder name, and then you add a season space 01 folder to put all these in. Inside the folder name this, and you've manually fixed this show up properly without doing anything. So let's show this. Let's actually do this. Okay, so let me copy all this. So I have a backup to use with FileBot later on. All right, so we have our backup. This is going to be the folder representing what Will's got. He's moved it on a Plex. We're going to rename this with the right year. And while I've got it edited, I'm just going to Control-C it with my keyboard to save a copy of it. Now we'll go in and we'll create a season folder for it. Season 01. And before we move these, let's adjust the name. They're all highlighted. I'll right click and choose rename. Let me make this wider. Find and replace text. Down here I'm going to type in, or I'm going to paste in Twilight Zone. And then I'm going to just copy this. Control-C, paste it in here. And you see how we've gone from Twilight Zone with no year to Twilight Zone with a year. And I'll hit rename. They're all renaming. Now, it doesn't usually refresh on the NAS with a network connection. So I'll hit Control R on my keyboard to refresh that. And you see they're all picked up with the right name. I'll paste them into the season folder. And now I'll move this into my library structure. And we'll wait for Plex to rescan. So now we've added the correct show, and we have 10 episodes. They're all dummy files, but we pulled the metadata. So let's show this same basic simple structure with a test TV show library that pulls episode ordering from TMDB by default and not how I've adjusted it to pull from TMDB. So I'll add a new library, TV show, we'll call it TMDB ordering, browse for media. Now this Plex server is running in a Docker container, and this is my alias to my shared media folder called media. Here's my sort folder for all my TV show libraries, and I'll point to the same structure as the other library. We'll go to advanced, and we won't change the episode ordering. Everything else is default. All right, we've got 2 of our 4 shows. All right, and it found the Twilight Zone from the correct year, 2002. Now, it's got a different season 1 poster, so that shows that Plex has slightly different metadata depending where you're pulling episode ordering from. But we still have episode names and we have episode descriptions. And I think these posters are going to be different too. So this is a driveway scene with 4 people in a car for the first episode. Let's go back to the library that pulls episode ordering from TMDB. And we'll look at that first episode. All right, it's the same poster. And we have the proper episode description too. So that's all done manually. All right, so let's pull this series out. Let's go back and we'll do the Plex dance for both these series. So it's rescanning, so they're going to disappear. Let's see if it's gone from the other library first. Right, so it's gone from here. So we will, now the server automatically scans, so we don't have to manually scan, we just have to empty the trash. Let's go back to the main show library. It's gone here, and because it automatically scanned, we just have to empty the trash again. And now we'll go back to troubleshooting, clean bundles, and now we have a fresh start. Okay, so let's take this one and edit the name. We'll call it manual just so that I can use this one here. All right, so let me just call this one Twilight Zone. And now we'll use FileBot. So I can right click on my Pop! OS desktop and open with other application and choose FileBot. So these are all just basically named very generically. So let me first show what FileBot's default expression will do. Because I've added my own expressions, I have to hold down the Shift key to click down here. And now I can choose Organize Episodes for Plex. This is going to pull naming from TMDB and add a source ID. And this is probably where Will went wrong, because FileBot will not make this choice for you. If I hover my mouse over this first option, you can see where it says 1959 for first aired. And this one says 1985. This says 2019. And this says 2002. So let's assume that somehow Will missed it and he picked 2019. So this creates structure in a media folder called media. This won't work on my Synology NAS unless I create a shared folder called media, uppercase. Then it creates a library folder called TV shows, and then the proper show name with a TMDB source ID for the show folder. It creates season 01, and then it simply leaves a basic file name of the Twilight Zone, no year, season 01, E01 with the episode name. So then let's show you my expression. My custom expression are usually in all of the FileBot videos I do, and I'll throw it in the description of this one, all the different custom expressions. So I'm going to pick this one I've got numbered or labeled number 2, TV series TVDB structure by air date. So again, FileBot will ask me which show I want. I don't want the 2019, I want the 2002. But I'm going to pick the 2019 anyway to show you how to fix it with FileBot. All right, so this is creating structure in place. It's going to be in this sort folder for my TV show libraries. It will create the folder, the Twilight Zone 2019. My expression does not add a source ID. I've never really found that necessary with most TV shows. And it's too easy to manually edit one in for multiple files if you want to. It creates a season 01 folder, and then it creates the episode names, and it adds media characteristics to it. So we'll commit to that. So I'll refresh my browser, and here's the wrong Twilight Zone, or the wrong naming. So if you want to fix this with FileBot, let's see what happens if we add it to FileBot again, just like this. So I'm going to use my own expression. Again, FileBot, even though it should know that it's a 2019 series because the year is there, it's asking us again which series to pick. So I'm simply going to pick this series, hit select, and FileBot is renaming it based on that. So as long as the right episode is matched up with S01, E01 through whatever it is, FileBot can quickly fix this. I'll commit to it. And I'll refresh. And now I have the right season, or the right show folder name, the right season name, and the right episode names. And here's my custom expression at work telling you media characteristics about it. Now, Plex's series, or Plex's support article for naming a TV series tells us that anything in the episode name that's in brackets is ignored by Plex. It's not an official rule for a movie library, but I use the same convention naming my movie files. So let's add this to the structure. We'll go back to the web app. Let's go into this library first. You see it's already detecting things. And it adds the correct show. So Will, whether you use FileBot or you use the manual renaming trick that I showed you, this is a pretty easy situation to fix. And let's go back to our two databases. So this is a unique show where the year is in it. Well, the year is always in it at TMDB. The year is very rarely in it at TVDB. So let's show you another example. Let's get rid of these two. I like using Shameless as an example. Oh, I left out the E. All right, so here's the original UK, and here's the Showtime one. So let's open that in a new link, and we'll click into this. So you see how Shameless with a year, Plex should know which one it is. Same here. Let's test that over here. All right, so here's the UK, and here's the US. So Plex really needs us to add the year to this. So you'd slide down and you just take this year, 2004, first aired. And you would add that in parentheses after this for your show title. You've got two options here. FileBot will simply, my expression will simply add the year to that. That would be 2011. If you wanted to name these manually without the year, you could probably get away with Shameless US for this series and just Shameless for that. But I think it's better to add the year and Plex won't match up. Or Plex won't mess up. So let's make this video even longer. And let's do this. Let's rename that as Shameless US. And let's quickly use our manual method. Oh, don't want to delete it. Let's use our manual method to quickly rename these 10 files. Okay, so the only thing we need is the year. 2011. Well, not that we need the year, we need to get rid of the year. So I'm not going to worry about the year. That was my own distraction. Okay, so we've got it simply named Shameless US with all the season folder names, or all the season episode coding. Let's see what Plex does with this. Remember, I've got two libraries going. One pulling episode ordering from TVDB and one pulling episode ordering from actually, it's in the same folder. One pulling episode ordering from the movie database. So I did not do the Plex dance. So let's just rescan. Let's look at this episode. And let's refresh all the metadata. Okay, what am I missing here? Oh, sorry, I haven't put it into the library yet. And I still have this show here. Okay, so let's remove that. Give Plex a second to catch up. All right, that show's gone. I don't really have to do the Plex dance because it's a different show now. So let's paste this in. I got lost for a little bit there with my own folder structure. So without the year, Plex knew what was going on with a library that's pulling episode ordering from TMDB without a year being included. Let's see what happens in the library pulling episode ordering from TMDB. Plex still knew what was going on, even though this library pulls episode ordering from TMDB based on just a simple name like that. All right, one last thing to do. Let's pull this out of here. Let's go back and do the. Let's go back in and do the Plex dance. So it's scanned automatically. I just have to empty trash. Let's back up. Do the same thing for this TV show library. And we'll go and clean the bundles. Okay, so now let's run this through FileBot. I'll use my custom expression, but let's show you FileBots first. Organize episodes for Plex. So it wants to know which Shameless. So 2011 version or the 2004. We want the 2011 version. So again, FileBot's default expression assumes there's a media folder or your media folder is named simply media. Then it will create that on a local system. Then it creates a show folder called TV shows. And now it's creating the show folder. I'm sorry, it creates a library folder called TV shows. And now it's creating a show folder named Shameless with a TMDB ID number and a seasonal 1 folder. And then it names the episodes very simply. I'll use my expression. So again, FileBot wants to know which series it is. It's not the 2004, it's the 2011. And really, this makes FileBot almost foolproof. So I'll select that, and this renames it with my structure. And you see how the US is not here. It's no longer Shameless US in parentheses. That's not there. It's simply the year. So we'll commit to that. And if you haven't used FileBot before, this validation screen removes any invalid characters. So there's a colon here. You can't really see it. But if I click validate, it's removed, and then I can continue on. So the US is gone, and everything's named simply. There's no source IDs needed. And let's paste this in. Alright, so this is the default library. It's pulling episode ordering from TMDB as this show is named. So it all came in, all the metadata flowed in. So let's check the other test library. This is pulling episode ordering from TMDB. And again, it found the right series, but notice how it's named Shameless with the US. I don't know why Plex does what it does, but the episode ordering is of consequence. And it's got all the right metadata. And let's go back one more time. So depending how you set your library up to pull episode ordering, you're going to have these slight deviations. So now we're, oh, I'm sorry, it's got the name US. They're both the same. But the US isn't in the file name. Okay, so my wires get crossed once in a while. And as I mentioned in all my videos, I'm not a professional YouTuber. Plex is my passion. Figuring out Plex issues is my passion. That's what I like to do. I'll never be a pro YouTuber. But if I tell you something wrong about Plex, stay tuned, because I'll eventually realize that somebody will tell me, and I'll have another video correcting myself and showing you the right way. But this naming stuff, I've got down pat. Normally I show Plex support articles and reference why things are this way, why things are that way. I'm not going to do it here, but I will paste in my custom FileBot expressions. You can watch one of my most recent FileBot videos to learn how to use them. But Will, I hope this gets you straight, and you can get straight with FileBot or without it to rename things manually. But let's be clear about one thing. FileBot did not mess up. You missed an obvious step using FileBot, because FileBot should pause until you pick the correct series when there's multiple series with the same name. If that didn't happen, I would love to know all your exact steps, because I'd want to be able to recreate that issue myself to look into it further. But I think you simply clicked on the wrong Shameless in FileBot, and you can just run it through FileBot again and click on the right one, or quickly manually rename them. But the Plex dance is an important step when you have a series scanned in the wrong way. So, everybody, thanks for watching, and happy Plexing.